On the former Patriots quarterback's retirement podcast, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick applaud one another. On Tom Brady's podcast, the two men collaborated once more, for one day, at least, on the first episode of the Let's Go podcast after Brady announced his retirement from the NFL after 23 seasons on Monday night. Belichick surprised everyone by joining Brady and co-host Jim Gray. And if you were unaware of Brady's uncomfortable departure from the New England Patriots in 2020, you could conclude that Belichick and Brady have been close friends or at least allies. Even after learning the outcome of their divorce, it was difficult to leave the event without the impression that the two longtime partners still had true affection for one another, particularly after hearing Belichick praise his former quarterback. The Belichick-Brady bouquet throw was the main event on a star-studded pod that included people like Peyton Manning, Rob Gronkowski, and even Oprah Winfrey. Belichick remarked, "We had a pretty excellent relationship, particularly in the film room and talking football and all that I will always treasure and from whom I learned a great deal. Tom Brady is the best game analyst, and I consider myself extremely fortunate to have had the opportunity to study him and his perception. That experience won't be had by another coach. Really, it was amazing." Belichick is rarely heard in such an unfiltered manner. Belichick usually saves this week's opponent, long snappers, or Navy football for praise of this magnitude. Brady returned the favor and affirmed the notion that these men weren't as competitive as people had assumed. Brady added, visibly upset as he said, "I think Coach Belichick and I formed an unbelievable bond, really from the minute I was drafted. I had a person who truly noticed something about me that not many other people did. Nobody has done it better than him because he loves the sport, teaching, coaching, and competing. I also consider what a blessing for me. There's no way I have the success I've had personally without him, and I'm very grateful for that." The podcast was the best source of nostalgia you could find for anyone who recognized either competitor's brilliance. It was clear that both guys were content with their partnership and where their lives were going. The olive branch offer from owner Robert Kraft to have Brady retire as a Patriot may not have been as forced as it first appeared to be. Brady was so good for so long because, according to Belichick, he saw everything on the field. Belichick said, "Tom talks about how much I taught him in those meetings, but I learned so much from Tom. Because I never played quarterback and I never saw the game through the quarterback's eyes, I saw it through a coach's eyes, and what Tom would do in those situations. I learned so much from him tell me that he saw and how he saw it. It was incredible how during the game he'd come off and I'd say, 'What happened on that play?' And he'd go through 8 things that happened. The tackle flashed before my eyes. This guy fell. The linebacker dropped wide, as I saw. He was a little further in the safety than I anticipated. When that happened, this man stepped forward, and I kind of moved it a little bit behind him because I could see that another person was close." After that, you could review the movie and see that each of those events actually occurred in the order in which he had described it to you when you were on the field leaving. "This person sees everything," I think to myself. He observes the rush, routes, coverage, depths, and a variety of other factors prior to the snap. Tom mentioned that we had meetings, and we would go over fundamentals, we'd go over game plans, we'd go over situational football, watch other teams play through situations. And I remember so many situations that came up in games where Tom would refer back to, "Yeah, that's what we talked about a few weeks ago when we watched the Detroit-Atlanta game," or "Yeah, remember when they ran this play in this situation 2 years ago." Tom's memory and ability to recall plays, scenarios, and minute details, such as hard counts, getting out of bounds plays, and similar things, from years earlier in the exact same situation and time period, were truly extraordinary. Brady wanted to be ripped in meetings so that he could develop and be pushed to greatness as well as so that his Patriots colleagues could see he wasn't getting special treatment from Belichick. According to Belichick, the coach looked to college basketball, of all places, for guidance on how to handle his star quarterback. "Hey," Belichick got on Brady in the first meeting, "players always report back. Like, Christ, I better be honest if he's going to talk to Brady like that. I already know what will happen to me," said Belichick. "Actually, Coach Knight is where I learned that. Because Coach Knight told me he did that with Michael Jordan when the United States men's team competed in the 1984 Olympics." "Do you know what, Michael?" he asked. "I'm going to rip you off. I can't rip some of these other guys without ripping you, so I can't rip you." "Hey, bring it on," Jordan said. "Because I need that and that will assist me with my teammates." And Tom's situation was somewhat analogous. He expressed his gratitude to me. It succeeded. They were one of the most successful coach-player combinations in sports history, not just in the NFL. They have the most wins of any quarterback-coach combination with 249 across the regular season, and playoffs. Over a 19-year period, they won 17 AFC East championships. Together, they played in 9 Super Bowls, 41 postseason contests, and 6 of them were victories. The quarterback criticized people who sought to split the two players and the organization, even after Belichick ultimately decided to let Brady leave in free agency in 2020, a process that began more than 2 years earlier when Brady didn't earn another long-term agreement. "We're at peace now," it seemed to be saying to the Globe. Brady remarked, "I think it's always such an idiotic conversation to say Brady versus Belichick, because in my opinion, partnerships are not about that. Coach and I were both unable to play quarterback. Coach often advises, do your job. I was asked to play quarterback by him. I wasn't asked to coach by him." Even while Brady insisted on the podcast that this retirement is for good, it was difficult for him to avoid acknowledging how much his first coach mattered to his career when he looked back on it for the second time. Brady remarked, "It's more about what did he not do to bring out the best in me. We were together for a long time. He began by instructing me on what football was all about, how to study defenses when I started to play. I couldn't imagine a better teacher to say, hey, here's how you're going to play quarterback in the NFL."